Recorded on the 6th of March 2016 in New Seville, Queensland, Australia.
That everything that happens to us, which is the effect, has a cause which led to that effect. And that cause happens to be inside of us. Now, once we come to terms with that one law, for example, we'll start going, okay, I've got a headache. There's an effect. The cause has to be something happening inside of me. Right? I've got the choice to go and get a headache tablet to suppress the effect, or I could deal with this cause and have the effect permanently erased. Which one am I going to choose? And then I go, oh, today I want to choose taking a tablet, so I go and take the tablet. And the next day, oh, I'll choose taking the tablet. I'll take the tablet. Next day, I take the tablet. Now, that's going to make a pharmaceutical company better off, but I doubt in the long run whether that's going to make you better off. And at some point, you've got to go, hang on a sec, I'm just taking tablet after tablet after tablet after tablet here. What if I actually instead address the cause? Then I would not have a headache to take a tablet for. That would be far better, wouldn't it? And this is a process of educating your soul to make different choices, you see? And that has to happen before you can change something. At the moment, many of you are just going, oh, I know this is the right thing to do, so I'm just going to try to do that. But that's not educating your soul to make a different choice. That's forcing your soul to make a different choice. And your soul is going to try to make the choice that it still wants to make still, because you've not released the reason why it's making it. And the reason why it's making it is because it believes something different. You actually, in your emotions, believe something different to what you're telling yourself. And that's never going to be a good thing. It's far better to go, this is how I feel about this subject. It was great yesterday when I asked you how you felt about God, because you told me how you felt about God. It was wonderful. That's the start. And then I presented to the concept, well, you've never had an interaction with God, so how do you know that God's like this? And you go, oh, I haven't thought about that, right? That causes your soul to ponder. The feelings inside of you to go, oh. The feelings inside of you start changing then. There's an awareness that grows, feeling-wise awareness, that goes, oh, I'm feeling I'm blaming somebody for something they've never done. That doesn't feel good if I do that, if somebody does that with me. So obviously it's probably not good if I do it with somebody else, and particularly not good if I do it with God. So maybe I can change that. Why do I want to do that? Oh, it's because I want to avoid all my family emotions. That's why I want to do that. You see, a lot of you, what I've noticed a lot of you trying to do is you're trying to feel a group of emotions which are not actually there. Right? And of course, you can't feel emotions that are not there. You've got to actually feel the emotions that are there. And the very first layer of emotion that everyone has to at some point choose to feel if they're going to progress is the emotions of avoidance, the ones that drive avoidance. And all of those are belief systems. And the only way you change a false belief is educating yourself with truth. It's the only way you change a false belief. And then, of course, you put it into action, and the action has an outcome that builds your faith. So the next time you're in the same position, you go, oh, last time I did that and I had that outcome. The time before I did the opposite thing and had a bad outcome, that tells me that the good outcome is going to come from this type of action, and I take that action again, and lo and behold, I get a good outcome. Now my soul's getting an education, right? Feeling. I've got a feeling-based education. Actually, it feels right to make this decision now rather than the decision to avoid. Does that make sense? So it's going to be a process that begins with your acknowledgement of truth. Educating yourself with truth.
Thank you.
And it's a very good question, Patty. Most of us avoid the education of truth and then expect our soul to change. And so to do that change, we've got to hear the truth and then intellectually decide, I'm going to do the right thing. which many of you have tried, and what's the outcome? It hasn't worked, right? Like Mary and I had this discussion like only probably 6 months ago. I was just saying it, babe, look, you're still using willpower rather than your will. The feeling coming from you is you don't want to do this particular thing, so feel that. Feel that you don't want to do those things. If you feel that you don't want to, eventually you'll get to the point of actually feeling differently. Because the more you feel the emotion that's really in your soul and release it, and this is a basic truth, if I feel all emotion coming out of my soul, if it's an error, it will be felt and afterwards released. Right? If it's a truth, it'll be felt and solidified. It's beautiful the way God's made us, right? Because do you understand that, what I've just said there? It's a very important basic principle that most people don't really grasp until they've felt quite a lot of their emotion, right? But what you realise after a while of processing through actual truthful emotions, even the emotions of avoidance are truthful emotions. By processing through these actual truthful emotions, you get to see that actually I don't have to worry about whether it's an error or a truth, because if it's an error and I process it, it'll be gone. It won't be in me anymore. Well, that's a relief. And if it's a truth and I process it, it'll be solidified. It'll remain within me. And this like prevents me from having to worry about the emotion. Like I know myself now, all I got to do is feel every actual emotion I have. Isn't that fantastic? I don't have to choose which one's bad and which one's good, because anything that's in error will be released from me if I feel it, and anything that's truth will be processed and solidified if I feel it. So we go Natalie, Graham and Dave.
So if all emotional...
If you leave your hand up, Graham.
communication with God is emotional, then what you just said about even if the emotion is error or truthful, I'm actually communicating with God in that process of honouring those feelings.
Of course.
Yeah, okay.
But what does God want you to do? God created you to be an emotional being. So when you honour your emotion, no matter what it is, you're being an emotional being. That's a higher state of truth than not being an emotional being under certain circumstances. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It just
whether the truth is, whatever the truth is of the emotion itself, all you need to do is feel it.
Well, it just kind of highlighted a moment, I'm recalling maybe having a tantrum with God, not feeling a real emotion, because I'm asking for help while I'm going through this phase and not feeling any real release or any real response back. And so that just kind of clarified for me, well, I'm not in a real emotion when that's happening.
No. It's got to be a real emotion from the soul. Not a figment of your imagination or a desire to feel a certain thing because you want to avoid something else.
Yeah.
Many times we do that. Like a lot of our rage, for example, has got nothing to do with real emotion. It's a desire to feel powerful rather than feel the real emotion. Right? So you can process anger for 1,000 years, right? And if it's not childhood anger, it's just adult anger that you're choosing to be powerful, feel powerful, you can process it for 2,000 years, 5,000 years. I know people from my first century life who are still in the hells enraged. So they've been processing, like you would call it, processing rage for 2,000 years. Where's it got them? Nowhere. Why? Because that's not the emotion that they need to feel. That's the emotion they want to feel, not what they need to feel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.